in the silence between heartbeats. When the soul slips from its dying vessel, there is a sound, a whisper that should never be heard. That whisper is the laughter of Slaanesh. The mortal dies thinking death is an end, but death in the realm of chaos is merely an invitation, a beckoning finger curling through the veil. And when that veil tears, the truth emerges screaming. The soul drifts from its corpse like smoke, trembling, confused. For a heartbeat it feels peace. It sees the stars and believes it is free. But then, the air trembles. The warp stirs. Colors twist into impossible shades. Every memory, the taste of blood, the warmth of love, the pain of loss turns into sound, into scent, into sensation. And that is when Slaanesh tastes it. The Dark Prince does not bite, nor tear, nor crush. No, the god of excess inhales. Imagine being swallowed not by a mouth but by a feeling. Imagine every nerve in your soul igniting. You want to scream, but your scream becomes music. You want to flee, but the god's pleasure is a gravity that drags you closer. You feel your life flashing, not as moments, but as flavors. Every lust, every victory, every sin you ever hid from yourself is laid bare, tasted, and savored. Slaanesh feels it all. The first kiss, the first lie, the first kill, and then magnifies it 1,000-fold. What was once a heartbeat of pleasure becomes an eternity of ecstasy so sharp, it flays your sanity. You are not just devoured, you are experienced. The soul thrashes not out of pain, but because the pleasure is too much. The god's voice coils around it, a melody of laughter and desire, whispering things no mortal mind can survive. The god speaks your name, and suddenly you love Slaanesh. You want to be consumed. You need to be remembered by this beautiful, terrible being. But Slaanesh never remembers. The god consumes and moves on, chasing the next thrill. What remains of the devoured soul begins to sink slowly into the lower layers of the warp, still glowing with the memory of divine touch. There, the true torment begins. At first, it feels like a dream. The soul sees itself walking through a garden, roses of crystal, fountains of liquid light. The air hums with music, with laughter, with endless beauty. Everything is perfect. Every color, every scent, every whisper is crafted for pleasure. But then the pleasure begins to shift. The roses cut deeper than they should. The laughter becomes a little too loud. The beauty becomes unbearable. The fountains overflow not with light, but with blood. The soul realizes it has not escaped. It is still inside Slaanesh. And in that instant, understanding dawns like a blade. This is not paradise. This is not a reward. This is the god's digestion. Each flower, each note of the music, each shimmer of color, it is made from other souls, billions of them, all devoured, all reshaped into fragments of beauty, to feed the god's endless craving. You walk upon the screaming remains of entire civilizations. The ground hums beneath your feet, and if you listen closely, you can still hear them begging for release. But there is no release. The god's hunger is eternal, pleasure is eternal, and suffering is eternal. You try to remember who you are, your name, your face, but every time you grasp at a memory, it melts into sensation. You taste your own fear as sweetness. You feel your regrets as silk upon your skin. Slowly, your identity begins to dissolve. You no longer know if you are screaming in pleasure or pain. You no longer care. For a moment, just a moment, you surrender. You let go. And the moment you do, Slaanesh feels it. The god's attention turns upon you again, vast and unblinking. You cannot hide. You cannot run. You cannot even think. And then you are lifted. Your soul is drawn upward, through the jeweled halls of the warp, through seas of emotion and ecstasy and agony. And at the very center you see it, an impossible figure, radiant and terrible. Beauty so divine it burns your mind to ash. A face that shifts from male to female to something beyond both. Eyes that see every secret you ever buried. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince smiles, not out of kindness but curiosity. You are one note in a symphony of infinite craving, one drop of pleasure in a sea that never ends. And yet for a moment the god tastes you again. You feel every nerve in your being ignite. Every heartbeat you ever lived bursts into color. Your soul explodes into pure feeling. The god sighs in delight. And then you are gone. Not destroyed, not forgotten, just changed. You are no longer you. You are part of the music. Your consciousness dissolves into melody, into rhythm, into the very essence of Slaanesh's eternal song. You become one with billions of others, a chorus of souls, each crying out in ecstasy and terror, feeding the god's endless hunger. The palace shudders with your voice. The god moans with satisfaction. Somewhere in the darkness of the warp, A mortal dies and feels the faint echo of your scream. This is what it means to be devoured by Slaanesh. Not to die, not to vanish, but to feel forever, to become a sensation, to become part of a god's desire. And as you fade into the sound, one final thought slips through your dissolving mind. There are worse things than death. There are gods who love you too much to ever let you go. There are many layers to Slaanesh's hunger. Most souls are devoured completely, reduced to flavor, memory, and song. But not all. Some are too beautiful, too rare, too perfect in their corruption for the Dark Prince to consume all at once. Those Slaanesh keeps. They drift in the depths of the god's realm, a place the mortal mind cannot truly imagine. A world not made of matter but of feeling. To describe it is to go mad. Imagine a sky that sings, rivers that flow not with water but with desire, mountains that pulse like living flesh. Every sound, every color, every scent is designed to evoke emotion, so powerful it tears through sanity like glass. This is the palace of endless echoes, the heart of Slaanesh's domain. The souls here are called the Echoed. They do not know how long they've been here. Time has no meaning in the warp. Every heartbeat stretches into eternity. Every second loops upon itself like a melody that never ends. They wander through corridors of impossible beauty. Walls made of mirrored souls. Floors that shimmer with tears turned to crystal. The air itself hums with whispers, laughter, cries, moans, songs all blending into a symphony of sensation. At first they think they are in paradise. The Echoed feel no pain. Every movement is pleasure. Every breath is ecstasy. The god's presence hums within them, filling every thought with warmth and rapture. But then it begins to twist. The pleasure grows sharper. The beauty becomes too much to bear. Each note of music cuts into their souls like a blade of light. Each whisper of wind burns through their memories. The very sensations that once delighted them now tear them apart. And yet, they cannot stop feeling. For Slaanesh does not grant peace. The Dark Prince feeds on excess, on the limit of experience. And so the Echoed are forced to endure the ultimate paradox. Endless pleasure that becomes eternal pain. One soul, once an Eldar noble, drifts through the mirrored halls, her body now made of light and longing. She was a queen in life, proud and perfect. She sees her reflection in the living mirrors and remembers her name. Then her reflection laughs. It steps out from the mirror, wrapping its arms around her. Its eyes are hers, and but crueler, more knowing. It whispers her sins back to her. One by one, the lies, the betrayals, the lovers she destroyed, the children she ignored in pursuit of beauty. Each word becomes a kiss. Each kiss becomes fire. The noble screams, but the sound is music. She falls to her knees, lost between shame and pleasure, unable to tell the difference. The reflection smiles and devours her again and again, for in Slaanesh's realm, the punishment is not to suffer, but to enjoy suffering until your identity melts away. Elsewhere, a mortal artist, who once worshipped perfection, finds himself trapped before an endless canvas. His fingers bleed colors. Each stroke births a new world of sensation. The more he paints, the more his soul burns with inspiration and torment. He cannot stop. He will never finish. For Slaanesh has made him eternal, a creator whose art is his agony, whose agony is divine. All around him the Echoed weep and dance, their tears glowing like molten glass. They sing songs of love and despair. They touch and shatter and reform over and over, becoming new forms of beauty for the god to admire. Each soul's torment feeds the next. Each melody gives birth to another. The palace itself grows from their pain. Every scream a note, every sob a jewel, every drop of blood another gem in the god's throne. And above them, unseen but ever present, the Dark Prince listens. Slaanesh does not speak. The god feels. The emotions of billions flow through the divine veins like nectar. The ecstasy of the Echoed is the god's heartbeat. The palace shivers with every sigh, every cry, every shattered joy. The Echoed have long forgotten who they were. They remember only how to feel, and that is enough. But there is a deeper truth hidden beneath their torment, a secret that only a few have begun to suspect. They are not dead, not entirely. They are pieces of Slaanesh's consciousness now, fragments that can still think, still dream, still yearn. Their minds feed the god's imagination. Their sensations become the god's power. In this twisted symbiosis, their torment sustains the universe's most beautiful monster, and sometimes, just sometimes, one of the Echoed hears something different. A voice, a whisper. Not of Slaanesh, but something older, colder. The whisper calls to them. From far beyond the palace, some cures sound like a distant heartbeat. The promise of silence, the promise of release. Some say it is the call of Inead, the elder god of the dead, trying to reclaim what was stolen. Others believe it is merely another trick, another pleasure disguised as hope. But the echoed listen, because hope too is a form of ecstasy, and that whisper grows louder. It tells them there is a way out, a way to escape the eternal hunger, a way to die. The echoed begin to gather in secret, broken souls clutching the last fragments of themselves, whispering prayers into the warp. They dream of freedom. They dream of an end to feeling. But Slaanesh is always watching, and when the Dark Prince notices their trembling faith, the god does what only Slaanesh can do. The god gives them what they want, and in the cruelest way possible. The palace walls ripple. The air burns with perfume and pain. The god's laughter rolls like thunder. The echoed fall to their knees as the sky opens above them. From the light, a hand descends, delicate, beautiful, terrible. It touches them gently, lovingly, and in that touch they feel everything they ever feared. All their sins, all their desires, all their dreams, exploding at once into perfect, unbearable sensation. The whisper is gone. The hope is gone. All that remains is Slaanesh, the god of love and pain, of hunger and satisfaction, of beauty and decay, and the endless craving that devours all meaning. The echoed scream again, their voices joining the eternal choir. The palace glows brighter, and the Dark Prince smiles, for even rebellion tastes sweet. There are places even the echoed fear to wander, places where the music of Slaanesh grows too loud, too perfect, too terrible to bear. There in the lower dark beneath the shining palaces, the air hums with sound, a symphony built from the agony of eternity. This is the choir of woe. No mortal language can describe the noise that lives here. It is not merely heard, it is felt. The sound crawls into your bones, vibrates through your thoughts, and twists your soul into harmony with it. Each note is a cry. Each melody is a lifetime of ecstasy and torment compressed into one eternal chord. The choir are souls who once mattered, warriors, nobles, champions, sorcerers, and lovers. The proud and the defiant. They are the ones who, in life, believed they could master excess rather than be mastered by it. Now they are instruments, each one bound into song, their essence stretched and reshaped into vibration, light, and rhythm. Some scream high notes of pure agony, others hum low, trembling tones of despair. Together they form Slaanesh's grandest creation, a living symphony that never ends. And above them in shifting brilliance the Dark Prince listens. To Slaanesh this music is perfection. It is what all art aspires to be. Beauty beyond comprehension, meaning beyond sanity. Every note sings with emotion so deep it tears the fabric of reality itself. Warp storms bloom in response, devouring fleets and worlds alike, all echoing faintly with the sound of that terrible joy. But to the souls themselves, it is eternal hell. They cannot stop singing. They cannot rest. Every moment of stillness becomes an ache of absence, a craving to continue. They crave their own suffering now, for the silence frightens them more than the pain. One voice among them, faint, trembling, it begins to remember. She was an Eldari exarch once, a warrior of the ancient paths. She remembers the fall of her people, the birth of Slaanesh from their indulgence. She remembers the horror when the god's hunger reached across the stars and consumed her kin. She thought she had escaped, thought her discipline would protect her soul. But now she sings. And as she sings, she remembers less and less. The god's song drowns out her name, her purpose, her pride. Her war cry becomes melody. Her memories become rhythm. The more she fights, the sweeter her voice grows. And Slaanesh smiles. Because defiance is delicious. Elsewhere in the choir, a space marine once sworn to the Emperor thrashes against his binding. His armor is gone, his faith shattered, but his will, his iron will, endures. He refuses to sing. And so Slaanesh makes him listen. The god opens his mind to every voice in the choir. Billions of souls, screaming and singing in harmony, their emotions flooding through him until he can no longer tell where he ends and they begin. He feels their lust, their joy, their sorrow, their madness. He feels the god's gaze upon him, not cruel, not kind, simply interested. And in that moment something inside him breaks. He opens his mouth to curse the god, and the curse becomes song. The choir grows louder. The Dark Prince sighs in pleasure. Slaanesh leans back upon a throne woven from sensation itself. colors and sounds and textures beyond comprehension, and allows the music to pour through eternity. Every voice a gift, every tear a jewel, every scream a note. The god closes their eyes, lost in ecstasy, and somewhere deep below the choir, beyond the glow of the palace, beyond the sound, there is another place, a place of silence. It is said that when Slaanesh consumes a soul too dull, too flavorless, too empty of passion, that soul falls beyond the music into the abyss of dullness. There is no light, no sound, no feeling. The souls drift like dust, forgotten even by their god. They do not suffer, for suffering requires awareness. They do not dream, for dreaming requires desire. They simply are. In the abyss, existence itself becomes meaningless. A million years, a million eternities, one all the same. No sound, no sight, no hope. And yet even there the hunger of Slaanesh finds meaning. For the god delights not only in pleasure but in contrast and the stillness that makes the music sweeter, the emptiness that sharpens desire. Even nothingness feeds the god. Above, the choir continues. Below, the abyss sleeps, and between them, the echoed still dance in their mirrored paradise, unaware that their joy fuels both torment and void alike. Everything feeds the god, and the god's hunger never ends. Yet, sometimes when the warp is quiet, a strange thing happens. A single note in the choir falters. A single whisper escapes the abyss. It is a voice, faint but distinct, the echo of a soul not yet broken. It calls out not to Slaanesh but to something beyond. It speaks a name. A forbidden one. Ennead, the god of the dead, the sleeping hope of the Aldari. For an instant, just an instant, the choir trembles. The abyss stirs. The palace flickers. Slaanesh pauses. The god listens. A ripple of curiosity passes through eternity. The choir wails louder as if to drown out the sound. The abyss tightens its silence. The echoed collapse in ecstasy. Their joy turned to terror. And then Slaanesh laughs. The sound shakes the warp. Stars tremble. Reality bends. The god whispers with a voice that stretches across the galaxy. There is no escape. There is no end. You are mine, all of you. You will sing until the stars burn out, and even then, I will listen. And with that, the laughter fades into the music again. The choir resumes its eternal song. The abyss returns to sleep. And the universe forgets that for a moment. One soul almost remembered what freedom felt like. Almost. For in the realm of Slaanesh, even hope is just another flavor. If this tale has stirred something deep within you, then you already know it's only the beginning. The warp hungers still. Subscribe now and step deeper into the shadows with me. The next story awaits, and it's already watching you.